All right, here's a quick example of going through kind of paginated results, basically creating a while loop to parse through various results provided you have a response that has a next page or a next link type of item. So the first step of this flow is basically we create an empty data store. I'm using the data store to store my offset as well as my limit. If I was giving like a next page token or something like that, I would just create the data store and put next page token and leave it blank, because the original call isn't going to have a token associated with it. After that, I'll start my loop. There isn't really a way to kind of paginate or go based on the number of results, because we don't know how many pages or next links will be available. So in this scenario, I just have it iterating 10 times, and I will break that iteration whenever I don't have a response that contains a next link. So, if I was expecting more than 10, I would need to have my iterator higher than 10. Now, once I'm in the loop, I read the data store back in, and in this case, I'm reading in that offset as well as that limit. For this API that I'm calling, it doesn't necessarily have a next page. Typically, your next page would be something like, question mark, next link, or, next equals some sort of string. In this scenario, the way that we handle it with the Privileged Cloud API is we have a map, and the map contains an offset and a limit. Whenever a next link is returned, the next link is just a combination of the limit and offset to go to the next page. So in my case, I'm reading in those values from the data store. Again, if you just had kind of a unique variable for your next link, like a dynamic ID, you would just have a single one where it says, next link, and then you would reference that here. The way you reference it is by clicking on this, going into that recently read in data store, and then selecting that option, right? So just like that. Once that is, make that first API call to API accounts with the appropriate offset and the appropriate limit. Immediately after that, I have a decision in place that looks at the response. I think it's going to go left. Otherwise, if next link is empty, it's going to go right, which is going to break the loop. So what do I mean here? You select this button, choose your API call, and then in mine, the body is broken down and next link is one of the options. So if I was to look at the schema, if there was a page to parse, it would basically have this next link item here, right? And this is the item that we're looking for. If this is not present, then we know we've our pagination. Otherwise, if it is present, in my scenario, I'm going to use this next link. I don't actually need the whole link. All I care about is the offset. The offset is going to increase every time that I go to the next page. So it's going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. If you have a unique ID, it might just have like a unique string, and you would just write that string directly to your database. So this is going to write directly to this database that we've defined up here. And in this case, I'm going to trim that string and just extract the offset. That's all I care about. I'm only updating the offset. My limit is going to be 10 items per page every time. That's what I want. But that's how I'm going to build this out. Now, that's going to immediately take me back to the top, and I'm going to do this exact same thing again. And it's going to just iterate through until we reach no more additional pages. Now, obviously, inside of here, inside of this branch, this is where you would perform any kind of actions on the data that you've collected on that page. At the end of my flow, I just basically clean up that data store that I created early on and just kind of delete that. Now, if we go and look at what this looks like once it's run, basically, the first time the data store is created, we see the initial limit is 10, the offset is 0. After that, we read that data in. Everything looks good, but you'll see, notice the offset is 50. How did that happen? Basically, each time that Git Accounts was run, we received a different response. So in the first time we ran it, the response was accounts offset 10 and limit 10. If we look at kind of the third time, we'll see the response. It's going to look like something account 40, limit 10. So each time it's being run, I'm extracting this number and overriding that initial data field. The last time it's run here, we receive the 50 that I was seeing in that field. So accounts, offset 50, limit 10. And then of course the run, there actually is no next link because we've reached the count. We see value. We see count next link value up above. We do not have a next link in this last time. So if I look at my branch, the first few times is not equal to nothing, right? However, on this last attempt, blank equals blank, that's when we exit out of that flow. So that's how this is overall running. That's how you would kind of go through paginated results. I hope this helps.